This story takes place during my time in Thailand. Our home was a spacious two-story structure surrounded by lush gardens and pig farms. It was that serene evening when the sun was casting its warm orange glow as it gradually set. At the time, I was around 12, seated beneath the sprawling canopy of our majestic tree, engaged in a conversation with my mum. She interrupted our talk to ask me to head upstairs and switch on the lights for the outdoor balcony since daylight was fading. As I prepared to make my way to the stairs, I paused to check on my dad, wondering if he had retired for the night. I peered through the ajar door and spotted my dad in his usual dark brown shirt, engrossed in his computer within his bedroom. It was a sight I was accustomed to. However, what ensued was far from ordinary. An inexplicable urge washed over me, akin to the curiosity one feels when trying to divert their gaze from their reflection in the mirror just to see if it moves. It compelled me to look upwards. Our second floor featured an open indoor balcony area, providing a view both up to the ceiling and down to the first floor. As I raised my gaze, I beheld my dad. Clad in his white, orange, and blue shirt, he stood perfectly still just behind the balcony railing, his gaze piercing down directly at me. That shirt, the one he wore almost every day, was etched into my memory. What still haunts me about this memory is the look in my dad's eyes. It was undeniably him, but the intensity of his stare was unsettling, a blend of judgment, animosity, or perhaps a sinister smirk conveyed solely through his eyes. I hesitated for a moment, then shifted my gaze back to my dad's room where he remained in his brown shirt, still immersed in his computer. In a matter of mere seconds, I looked up once more, only to find nothing there. I couldn't simply dismiss it as a trick of the mind. However, my fear of my mum's scolding for neglecting the lights overrode my unease. Summoning my courage, I ascended the stairs, cautiously peering onto the second floor, finding it devoid of any presence. I swiftly turned on the light and hurriedly descended the stairs. Yet, it wasn't as straightforward as I hoped. While racing back to the stairs, I sensed an eerie presence, a piercing stare emanating from my mum's room through the open door. But my fear had taken such a grip on me that I dared not look back. I bolted as though my very life depended on it, out to where my mum sat beneath the tree. For weeks afterward, I made sure to illuminate every corner before the sun's final descent to avoid venturing upstairs in the dark. I kept this eerie encounter to myself until I confided in my sister. A year my senior, we were sitting in her room, sharing our spine-chilling tales and experiences. It was then that she revealed her own encounter. She had seen our dad, sporting that same white, blue, and orange shirt, walking across the second floor from our mother's room toward the stairs, his back turned toward her. Yet, when she glanced back into the bedroom, she found our dad sound asleep on the bed, wearing an entirely different shirt. My sister was as shaken as I had been, and I recounted my own eerie experience. We couldn't make sense of it, but what truly sent shivers down our spines was that the shirt my sister described was precisely the one I had seen. As we shared our encounters, I vividly recalled the tension I felt, and my eyes welled up with tears. Even now, my eyes moisten whenever I revisit that uncanny memory.